Alright, let's do this. We got our Jamboree PowerShell script downloaded. Now, again, you don't need admin to run this, but I would highly recommend you install hardware acceleration drivers. You can use the Hexium, or there's two other ways to do it, which aren't included in here, at least yet, but you can do all of this without administrator at all. First thing we're going to do is start up Burp Suite. When you do, I have it checked to run Burp Suite when you're using the Android emulator. Just because the way it's set up, you're probably not going to want to have the emulator running without Burp Suite, so I have it doing that. So here we're pulling down a local Java and a local Burp Suite and a local Burp Suite Pro. Pulls down the latest one. If you want basically with any of this, if you want to pull the latest one, you just delete the folders or files having to do with whatever that thing is. So if it downloads, Python, then you remove the Python and the Python zip file or whatever. That's a way to get, latest and greatest if you're missing out on something. So I'll take this guy, put him up here, put the proxy. This is so you can look at the traffic. This is the man in the middle. This is the guy that sits in between the application and the internet. So we're going to start ABD. This will basically check for Java, and it will pull down Python. It'll pull down the dependencies for Objection and Frida. Then it's pulling down all the tools and images needed for the Android emulator. And this is Android 11 3.0. We'll see in a second here. 64. And this is what takes the longest. That Python is a 16 meg tiny Nugget Python package. So it gives you pip and Python, and without having to have library files all over the place. And so even if you have an existing Python environment, this will work without any of that. So if your Python environment is broken, or you don't want to mess with your Python environment, or you don't want to have to worry about spinning up a new environment in Python and using all the NV sets, you just use this because it uses the local environment variables to do its magic. So this is 3.0, I guess release 09. It's also pulled down the Burp Suite certificate in the background. That's what this 0 byte payload. It's pulling the Burp Suite certificate down in the background, and then once it finishes that, it pushes it to the local search store. So if you want to use your local browser, it will basically not prompt you that there's a SSL issue. So it adds it to the local search store. That's just for things like, I think Chrome supports that, and Internet Explorer. So now we're starting the emulator up. This is a Pixel 2, basically. Now there's like build prop stuff, other mods or modules for Magisk you can install to emulate whatever you want. Now right now this is all legit. We haven't done anything but use primary binaries, nothing fishy or squirrely going on. This next step, the installing Magisk, is when you start getting into rooting, and that's what you need to get that SSL traffic. So we'll go in here, we'll go ahead and set our proxy settings. Oop, turn it back on. I always turn it off by accident. There is a proxy setting within the command line, and it is, for all intents and purposes, broken. It is dodgy at best. So I finally gave up, and I'd like to automate this eventually, or push it to the config for the device itself. I'm not able to type right now for some reason. That might be because the keyboard is not set up yet. So we'll wait till the keyboard's set. It might take a reboot for the keyboard to get set up. Usually I let it sit and marinate for a while before I click to install Magisk. So right now we have a regular vanilla, no root, no nothing. I want to go ahead and hit the root ABD. In the background here, it's going to install Magisk. It kind of temporarily install it just long enough to push the boot to like a local partition, have it boot off of what we want to install. So this is a little bit tricky. You want to go to install and then patch and then go to downloads and you'll see fake boot image and then you say let's go. Now it's pushed this patch for the boot partition to install Magisk basically. So you go back to this window, you hit enter, and it should shut down for us. And I take credit for none of this. This is just a bunch of scripts compiled together to do all the hard stuff. Right, so it's shut down. Now we're going to start it back up. And then we have one more reboot after this just to make Magisk happy. And other than that, we're done. This is mostly portable. There are some instances where you'll have some temporary files being thrown around, but in general, I don't have a whole lot running around. See, you'll see here jamdev app data. So we've moved the app data location temporarily inside of this environment to a targeted place, so we can easily edit stuff while we're in here and we're kind of booting up and marinating. I'm going to set the proxy settings in here to manual, and it's 10.0.2.2, and the port is 8080. Now when we do this, if we're lucky, we should see some traffic in here in Burp Suite. So let's see what we get. Okay, so this is you getting HTTP. Very easy to do, no problem there. Now to get that next step, you're going to need to do once you've got Magisk installed, you're going to need to install those SSL certificate. But we need to first reboot one more time because Magisk wants to install all additional stuff. So we'll let it do that. So essentially, you just need to reboot twice for Magisk to get essentially root. I think one more time. Actually, I could have saved us a reboot by doing the because you have root right now before the first reboot. So I could have done the upload burp cert and then done the reboot after that. I'll sort this by, we can see the traffic coming in. So let it kind of marinate for a quick second. I'm going to click upload burp cert. So it's going to convert this is warning you to set up the proxy server because you're starting to get into territory of detecting the traffic. You want to grant the SU binary so that it can install this SSL certificate tool. It kind of manages the certs for you, so you can put multiple ones on there, all that stuff. So it does some magic with PowerShell to fix the names. It converts the cert to SRT, the dir to a CRT, and then changes the name and then uploads it to the server, or uploads it to fix it. You can shut down with this little button here. It'll ask you if you want to shut down. So now we're injecting, right? We've injected that. You used to could add a user certificate, and now you have to have root to add a certificate to Android. So don't want anybody looking at that horrible code. So this should be the last time we reboot. Right now, everyone would still be installing Android Studio. You would still be downloading the images from Android Studio right now, even if you knew exactly what you were doing. And oftentimes, you don't, and you have to like re-download. You click the wrong image. That's what happens to me all the time. I'll click the wrong image and end up having to download it again. So we have everything in here. You can update this. It doesn't necessarily matter unless you're going to get into Magisk stuff. There's the whole thing with Magisk and getting it all up to date and happy. Won't get into that right now. So we should see some of that traffic. We can go ahead, now that we have our certificate, we should start seeing HTTPS traffic in here. So we'll drop this out, turn this back on, see if we can get some HTTPS going. Alright, we'll just go ahead and run Frida. So this will set up Frida, it'll push the server to the emulator, it will start up the emulator for you, or it'll start up the server for you, and then you can type whatever you want. There's nothing in here to play with right now, so what I'm actually going to do is install basic APKs. This is just a list of stuff that I use at one point in time for testing. So Lucky Patcher is fun to play with. The Andro Goat's the one we're going to use just to show a proof of concept for this guy. I'm a little confused as to why we're not connected here. We should see like HTTPS in here. There we go. It's weird. You have to go in here and click connect sometimes, or click that Wi-Fi button. It's like a pseudo Wi-Fi thing. That's why I like the command line version, because you can just pass that parameter and not have to worry about hitting the connect button and it being half connected. So we see we have HTTPS. So now the only thing we're missing is certificate pinning. So we go in here, click the Frida anti-root. There's also Objection if you want to just use Objection by itself. But you'll hit Frida. You have to know the COM name, whatever, of the app. And in our instance, it's just GOAT. So click it in here. It's got a little filter for you. I wanted that so that I could easily click around and figure out which app out of the millions of apps on your phone there are. So we've already got some information about the anti-root check is running and the SSL bypass stuff is running. So we're going to have this open. We're just going to clear it out. We could say, boom, we got HTTP, we got HTTPS, and this is our certificate pinning. So now you can pretty much do whatever you want from here. This gives you a complete, if you want just to use Python, Git, Java, pip, command line, it's all here. Not blocked by AV or anything. This will give you everything you need to do whatever you want to do. A little Python environment. Here's for logs. If you want to look at the logs, I think it's up to warning and higher. So it'll give you a log cat. There's shutdown. If you have unauthorized ADB, that hasn't happened lately, so I don't know if I've fixed something. But that used to happen when the initial setup of this. You wouldn't see the accept, and it would get automatically denied, and you'd have to wipe the ABD. So this is if you want to wipe your data and start over from scratch without having to download everything over again. Again, base APKs. Here's ZAP Using Burp. You have to set up the ZAP certificate and import that into Burp Suite. So I haven't made that hard to do or easy to do yet. I think I had it the other way around. I had this working at some point, and I was going to make the automation point a little bit easier, but not right now. Burp Suite Pro. Here's to kill ADB if you've got ADB running in the background. You want to get rid of it. Here's all the Bloodhound stuff. So Sharphound is the client. Collect the information. Neo4j is the graph, and then Bloodhound is the interface UI for the Neo4j graphing stuff. Play around with it. AutoGPT is kind of broken. This is image automatic 1111 stuff. PyCharm for IDE, which I had to start coding. And here's a debloat tool for Android stuff. It does take a while to run because it has to decompile, or it has to decompress every single application. So it will take a long time to run, but it will give you, if you run this on a standard device, it's a ARM7, it will give you the actual labels and the COM names and the APK path, so you can quickly see the word, Samsung inside of the label, but the name of the app is calendar, right? So it'll help you debloat some of that stuff. And that's pretty much it. You can back up the folders. So if you want to back up your image, I think it's the Android AVD, and one other folder. Yeah, system images. I think these 3 folders will give you essentially a backup of your image at its current state. So if you end up mangling this, or you want to make sure that you haven't ruined anything, you can do it that way. Anyways, hope that helps out. Take it easy.